What if I told you that the viral video of the new 25,000 dinar note isn't just a rumor, but it's a carefully orchestrated piece of a much larger financial puzzle, and the people celebrating it as a direct ticket to a $4.48 exchange rate are completely missing the terrifying red flags that this same note actually represents? The truth is, this new note has been verified, but not in the way these hype artists are claiming. The verification is that it is a legitimate print from the printing presses, but what nobody is telling you is the real reason behind its issuance, a reason that has nothing to do with a revaluation and everything to do with a desperate financial maneuver by the Iraqi government that could potentially sink the value of the currency you're holding even further before any rise ever has a chance to materialize. Stay with me until the end of this video because we are going to dissect the 3 critical pieces of evidence that the gurus are ignoring, evidence that points not to an imminent RV, but to a necessary and painful monetary reform that has been decades in the making. Let's cut through the noise and look at the cold, hard facts. First, let's talk about the note itself. This isn't some magical key that unlocks a new exchange rate. This is a part of the Central Bank of Iraq's strategic plan to replace the older, worn-out currency notes in circulation and to officially phase out the Swiss-printed currency that has been in use since the Saddam Hussein era. The goal here is sovereignty and control. By moving entirely to a new series of notes printed under their own direct supervision, the Iraqi government is finally consolidating its monetary system, which is a prerequisite for any kind of international financial stability. This process is called the ISO code implementation, and it's a bureaucratic and technical nightmare that they have to solve before the world's banking systems can even begin to process the Iraqi dinar as a normal, tradable currency. Think of it like this. You can't build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. This new note is part of pouring a concrete foundation. It's not the grand opening of the building. The second point, and this is the one that should make every investor pause and think critically, is the concept of monetary mass or M2. The introduction of a new, higher denomination note is often a signal of inflation, not revaluation. When a country is experiencing hyperinflation, like Zimbabwe or Venezuela did, they introduce higher denomination notes to make physical transactions easier as the lower denominations become worthless. Now, I am not saying Iraq is in that exact situation, but the principle is what you need to understand. Adding a 25,000 dinar note into an economy where the highest common note was 25,000 dinars before doesn't change the fundamental value. It simply changes the physical representation of that value. The total amount of dinars in existence, the monetary mass, remains the same. The value of your dinar is inversely related to this money supply. If they print more money, each individual dinar becomes less valuable. This new note is not being introduced in a vacuum. It's part of a larger liquidity picture that we must analyze without the rose-colored glasses of hype. And the third piece of evidence is the most damning for the $4.48 theory, the simple, undeniable mathematics of it. Let's do the math together right now. The current estimated money supply of the Iraqi dinar is astronomical, sitting in the tens of trillions. If you were to take that massive number and multiply it by even a single dollar, let alone $4.48, the resulting figure would represent a GDP for Iraq that is larger than that of the United States, China, and the European Union combined. It is a mathematical impossibility. The global economy simply does not have that kind of wealth to assign to the Iraqi dinar overnight. A revaluation to that level would instantly vaporize the global financial system. Any realistic path to a stronger dinar involves a process that may include a redenomination, where they lop off zeros, making one new dinar equal to 1,000 current dinars, for example, which would give the psychological appearance of a higher value without the economic catastrophe. So, when you see that new 25,000 dinar note, understand that it is a tool for modernizing a broken system, not a golden ticket. It is a sign of progress, yes, but it is a progress that is moving at the pace of international finance and bureaucratic reform, not the pace of YouTube rumors. The verification of the note is real, but the narrative being sold to you is dangerously incomplete. Now that you understand the real story behind the new note and the glacial yet real progress happening in Iraq, The most critical question becomes what you should actually do with this information, because passive hope is not a strategy and listening to the loudest voice in the echo chamber is a recipe for financial disaster. The path forward requires a complete shift in mindset, from being a speculator waiting for a miracle to becoming an analyst monitoring tangible milestones. The first and most important step is to completely ignore the exchange rate hype. The number $4.48, $3.47, or any other specific figure is a fantasy designed to capture your attention and trigger your emotions. It has no basis in the complex economic modeling that will ultimately determine the dinar's value. Instead, you need to focus exclusively on the concrete legislative and financial prerequisites that act as the true pillars supporting any future increase in value. Your new checklist should not include rumors about new notes or secret meetings. It should include the successful and timely passage of the annual federal budget without political gridlock, the official announcement from the Central Bank of Iraq confirming the launch of the new ISO code and the end of the temporary placeholder status, and verifiable reports from international financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund praising Iraq's adherence to its economic reform program. These are the real headlines that matter, the genuine breaking news that should make you sit up and take notice. Furthermore, you need to become an expert on the difference between a redenomination and a revaluation because your entire investment strategy hinges on it. If a redenomination occurs, which is the most likely scenario, you will not see a profit from the exchange rate change. Your profit, if any, will come from the overall economic growth and stability of Iraq that a successful redenomination would signal. This means the value of your investment is tied to the long-term health of the Iraqi economy, its oil industry, and its political stability, not a magic number. This is a fundamentally different type of investment, one that requires patience measured in years, not days. You must also consider the logistical reality of a potential currency swap. If and when a new currency is issued, there will be a strict deadline to exchange your old notes. Ask yourself right now, do you have a concrete, reliable plan for how you will physically get your dinars to a certified exchange location, potentially within Iraq itself, within that limited window? This is a massive, unresolved risk for many holders of physical currency that is rarely discussed. The new 25,000 dinar note is a piece of this puzzle, a signal that the central bank is actively refreshing the monetary stock in preparation for future events, but it is not the event itself. So, I am urging you to take control of your investment today. Stop waiting and start planning. Create a file for yourself where you only track credible, official news from sources like the Central Bank of Iraq's website or reputable international economic news wires. Filter out every piece of information that does not come from a verifiable, official channel. Make a plan for the possibility of a redenomination and understand what it truly means for your holdings. The dream of a prosperous Iraq is not dead. In fact, it is more alive now than it has been in decades, but the path to that prosperity is being built by engineers and economists, not by magicians and hype men. The verified note confirms the journey is underway, but the destination remains far on the horizon. Now, here is my final call to action for you. If you found this deep dive into the real facts behind the Iraqi dinar valuable, if this is the first time someone has given you the unvarnished truth without the fairy tale ending, then I need you to do something for me and for your fellow investors. Share this video with just one other person you know who is also invested in the dinar. Send it to them in a private message, post it in a group, but get this information out there. We have to break this cycle of misinformation that preys on people's hopes. The likes and the shares are not for me. They are for the entire community to elevate factual analysis over sensationalism. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because when those real, tangible milestones are achieved, when the budget is passed, when the ISO code is finalized, I will be here to break it down for you without the hype, without the hysteria, with just the facts you need to make an informed decision for your future. Be smart, be patient, and let's follow the real story together. So if the new note isn't the trigger for a sudden windfall, what is the real pathway to a stronger dinar? And why does this entire situation feel like we are standing on the edge of something monumental? The answer lies not in a single piece of paper but in a complex web of international agreements, legislative hurdles, and economic realities that are finally, after 20 years of delay, starting to click into place, and the most significant of these is the long-awaited and often misunderstood International Organization for Standardization Code, the ISO 4217, which is the true gatekeeper for the Iraqi dinar's future. You see, right now, the Iraqi dinar has a temporary code, IQD, which is a placeholder, and until that is made permanent, the currency is essentially locked out of the global electronic banking system, which means you cannot walk into a standard bank in New York or London and freely trade your dinars for dollars or euros. It simply cannot be processed. The new 25,000 dinar note is a visible symbol of Iraq preparing for the day that code becomes permanent, but the note itself does not cause the code to change. The code changes only when the Central Bank of Iraq and the Iraqi government can prove to the world's financial authorities that they have achieved what is known as financial compliance, which is a fancy term for having a stable, transparent, and predictable monetary system that won't collapse the moment it is exposed to international market forces. This involves passing critical legislation like the federal budget law, which allocates funds for the entire country and has been held up for years by political infighting, and it also involves the completion of the electronic payment system infrastructure that will allow for modern banking within Iraq itself. Think about it. A country cannot have an internationally recognized currency if its own citizens still rely overwhelmingly on cash stuffed in mattresses. The system has to be built from the ground up. This is the real, unglamorous work that is happening behind the scenes, work that doesn't make for exciting YouTube thumbnails but is infinitely more important than any new banknote. Furthermore, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the deletion of the Zeros project, a project that has been discussed for over a decade and is often deliberately confused with a revaluation to create false hope. A redenomination, or the deletion of zeros, is not a revaluation. It is a monetary reset where the government would introduce a new dinar that is equal to 1,000 of the current dinars. So, your 25,000 dinar note would become a 25 dinar note. The value of your holding remains exactly the same in terms of international purchasing power. It just makes the currency easier to handle and calculate with domestically. This is a psychological and practical move, not a wealth creation event. The danger for investors holding physical currency is the potential for a swap period where you have a limited time to exchange your old notes for new ones. And if you miss that window, your old notes could become worthless pieces of paper. This is the kind of critical, practical information that is often glossed over. The connection between this and the new 25,000 dinar note is strategic. It is far easier to manage a currency swap when you are already in the process of introducing new series of notes and pulling old ones out of circulation. They are building the logistical framework right now, under our noses, for a future redenomination, not an overnight revaluation to riches. The recent news about Iraq paying off its debt to the International Monetary Fund ahead of schedule and securing lines of credit from other nations are all positive indicators that they are building their financial credibility, which is a necessary step for the ISO code to be finalized. So, the landscape is shifting, but it is shifting in the way a glacier moves, powerful and unstoppable but incredibly slow, and certainly not in the way of a sudden earthquake that will make millionaires in a single afternoon. The verified note is a signpost on this long road, confirming that Iraq is moving in the right direction, but it is not the destination itself, and mistaking the signpost for the destination is the most costly mistake an investor can make.